The streaming landscape is exploding, and putting together a video on different services and shows, that's a crazy moving target. Genuinely too much stuff to watch, and by the time we make some kind of definitive video on that topic, that breakdown is going to change. Up to this point in 2022, which streaming service is getting it done? Which service do you think has the best catalog of TV shows? And while you're in between binging seasons of Knight Rider, we hope you'll keep up with all the work here on reviews.org. Yes, I am actually rewatching Knight Rider. It's surprisingly fun. Hit those subscribe options down below, give us a follow around the socials, and check out the home site, reviews.org. We've got great reviews and tutorials ready to help you out. Okay, just trying to wrap my brain around this topic, and we casually threw it out there in a video pitch session, and when I sat down to start writing this script, it quickly snowballed into a much bigger challenge than I was anticipating. How do we even begin to rank and grade TV catalogs on streaming services? We all know the major players. You've got Netflix and Disney+, HBO Max, Hulu, Amazon, some really fast progress from Apple TV. There's some eyeballs on Paramount with Star Trek. And after those major players, there are 200 more discrete services with a narrower focus on content or with smaller catalogs. By the time I finish this sentence, there will probably be 7 new streaming apps launched. I'm pretty good with a search engine, but even with my basic Google foo, I could not find anything resembling a current list of services and including a catalog of shows available on each service. You know, something like a properly maintained database that can globally account for every piece of media. Nearest I could estimate, doing a little notepad math, we'd need to account for roughly 30,000 TV shows, give or take 5 grand across all regions, archives of old classic TV, current broadcast shows, and top popular streaming options. That's a lot. This question is so tricky to define because the news on a streaming service is only as positive as its most recent releases. We all have really short memories. Right now, I'm hot on Hulu because of The Orville and Only Murders in the Building Season 2. That's going to be coming up. That's the fresh stuff. Someone just signing on to Hulu today, would they be interested in a show like 11/22/63 from 6 years ago? Would they even be able to find it? My wife and I, we really enjoyed Peacemaker on HBO, but I'm also not embarrassed to admit I've been binging old seasons of The Larry Sanders Show. You know, back when HBO was the original experiment in alternative TV production. It's not TV, it's HBO. I've said this before in other videos, but I think every catalog suffers from poor discoverability and search tools. I was leaning on my Plex account really hard for finding stuff while writing this script. And we recently talked about those Plex updates in a previous video that's linked below. Because beyond just the outright quantity of media, we need to also get into catalog instability. For example, when it comes to old broadcast TV, every channel and their mother are trying to make their own unique streaming service. So if you like to watch old TV shows, those agreements are not going to be permanent. It's been fun revisiting Seinfeld on Netflix, but I do not believe it's going to live on Netflix forever. Even when a show is produced specifically for a streaming service, it could end up on another platform in the future just because of the way media contracts are built and maintained. And even if it lives on that service permanently, there's no guarantee that we'll really get to finish that story. I was very satisfied with the last season of Expanse on Amazon, but there is technically more story to explore in that universe, and it doesn't seem Amazon is going to produce that. Of course, Netflix has built the harshest reputation for building up a popular series and then killing it before it's really finished. Netflix's greatest strength, their ability to experiment with content, has also become one of the platform's greatest weaknesses. Very clear when fans get left in the lurch at the end of a show. We can feel pretty good about Arcane, Cobra Kai, Squid Game. This new season of Stranger Things was surprisingly solid. We can point to some successes, shows that got to complete their vision like BoJack Horseman and Ozark. But Netflix is also littered with series that ultimately feel like a waste of time because you know they won't really conclude. We can only hope that with the recent rough financial news for Netflix, they're going to take a closer look at audience behavior, creating a show, and then estimating what the run of that show might be. Because I bet you the folks at Apple TV are planning a little further out. A perfect example where the showrunners on Ted Lasso have been very vocal about that show having a 3-season arc. I'd much rather know it has an ending in sight than pretend it can run forever, but then get left unfinished. So we can't leave this video off as just the philosophy of how difficult it is to make videos on the YouTubes. I'm gonna leave you off with my hot take. While I obviously have soft spots in my heart for Hulu and Netflix, I think at present the best TV catalogs are on HBO and Disney+. Not for the outright quantity of shows, obviously, but for having a much tighter control over their agreements and catalogs. One, Disney kinda owns everything. You have Star Wars, Marvel, including the Netflix and Fox Marvel shows now, National Geographic, and a huge collection of classic Disney properties. They own it all. Even though it started at Netflix, I'm a lot more confident that when I want to rewatch Jessica Jones again, I won't have to hunt for it. I'm pretty sure I know where it's gonna live. Plus, the new Disney shows have been cranking like clockwork. We were finishing up Moon Knight and jumping right into Kenobi. Disney TV is a machine right now. And likewise, HBO. The new shows and films premiering on HBO have been excellent, like the aforementioned Peacemaker, but my wife and I were also looking forward to season 2 of Hacks. Absolutely solid dramedy. So like Disney, they have a catalog spanning decades of content that is outright owned by HBO. They feel like they might be just a bit more stable. For the shows and films that I like to watch, I'm inclined to give HBO a slight edge. That's definitely more of a personal preference, which is why we need to hear from you. Maybe I have this all wrong. Maybe there's a bit of data that turns this whole case upside down. Maybe you have the hottest of hot takes, and we need to hear it. So drop that hot take down in the comments below. Which streaming service has the best TV? I mean, I didn't even try covering the ad-supported services. So legitimately, this field is wide open. And we'll share the results of this informal comment polling in a future video. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these videos, subscribing to the channel. For Reviews.org, I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, and I will catch you all on the next video.